Hello viewers of Biotechnica, welcome to another video. Now we are going to talk about the top 10 tips to study NEET Biology efficiently. Yes, we know that 180 mark is for botany and 180 mark is for zoology. But when we are studying botany or zoology separately, we need to concentrate on few things so that you can actually clear the NEET examination very efficiently. And I'm going to talk about what are the top 10 tips that you can study NEET Biology very efficiently. There are some mistakes that usually a NEET aspirant does. So I'm going to highlight onto that point, and I'm going to talk about what you have to rectify and what are the things that you have to follow during your preparation. The first important thing is understand the unit and the chapter wise weightages, which means I would suggest everybody to first know what are the botany and what are the zoology units and chapters separately. So we have a video separately on that. You can just watch it out. What are the important topics also. So understand the units and the chapter wise weightages. So here there are some weightages which is given. So this is about the diversity in the living world, which is unit number 1. So averagely how many amount of questions will come from each of the unit is going to be this one. So biological classification, you can expect 3 to 4 questions, which means biological classification is an important unit that you have to study. And plant kingdom almost 3 questions, animal kingdom 3 to 4 questions, living world you will get 1 questions. So if you're not concentrating a lot on living world, you can just look on to the previous year question paper. When we come to human physiology, you can literally see digestion, breathing, exchange of gases, body fluid, excretory system and neural control have 2 questions. Usually locomotion and movement you will have 1 to 2 questions. So human physiology, I would suggest all the units are very important. A little bit less weightages can be given to digestion and absorption chapter. The next is plant physiology. Plant physiology also all the units are very important. You can see literally 2 questions, 1 to 2 questions you can expect from all these things. So when we talk about the structural organization in animals, morphology questions are maximum because examples are maximum in morphology. So you will get morphology questions maximum. Anatomy, you can have some questions about the diagrams and enlarge exact situation, all this thing. And the structural organization, definitely a cockroach questions will always be there. And cell structure, you can see the importance. So basically what I'm trying to say is you have to know what are the things that are more important, what are the units that you have to concentrate. So when you know your syllabus of botany separately and zoology separately, first thing is you need to know what are the weightages for each of the unit and as well as for the chapters. So after understanding these chapters, now you have to do one important thing is what are the chapters or what are the units that you should not skip. Certain units you can skip or you can read only the previous year question paper. So some of the units I'm going to tell it separately for botany and for zoology. For botany, if we have to talk about, definitely never ever miss photosynthesis chapter, most important chapter. And respiration in plants is also another important chapter. So this is very important. A respiration chapter. Next one is cell structure, or we can say cell the unit of life and cell cycle. So these 2 are also very important. You should not miss this chapter. So what you can, when you're starting a preparation, you can start off with cell the unit of life and then you can study cell cycle 1 together and then photosynthesis, respiration together. And as we have seen, lot of questions comes from morphology, some 3 to 4 questions. You have to read plant morphology questions or all the examples only from your NCERT. Next to genetics. In genetics, I would suggest principle of inheritance and molecular basis of inheritance are very important. For evolution, you can miss some of the topics. Kingdom Monera is very important. In biological classification, I told you will expect a lot of questions. Very specifically in Protista and Kingdom Monera, you will get a lot of questions. And Plant Kingdom, never ever miss. Plant kingdom and sexual reproduction in flowering plants, you can study it together. So these are some of the chapters that you should not skip at all when it comes to botany. When it comes to zoology, so you can concentrate on these first things and then you can move on to the rest of the chapters. And in case of zoology, I would suggest human physiology should be your prior chapter because even when you go in as a doctor, you would be studying about human body only. So human physiology, I would suggest never to skip. So learn everything together, starting from breathing and exchange of gases, digestion, absorption, you can study it a bit later. Breathing and exchange of gases, body fluids, excretion, And I didn't include locomotion movement, so you can study it a bit later because we used to have some one question only. Conduction of nerve impulses, chemical control and coordinations. So in chemical control and coordination itself, you will be studying about some gastrointestinal hormones, which is related to the first one, which is digestion and absorption also. So these are the human physiology chapters that you should never ever skip. Of course, human reproduction, some of the important things you have to remember is male reproductive system, female reproductive system, menstrual cycle, parturitions, and what are the hormones that are involved in it. Those are important. So study human reproduction, reproductive health. Human health and diseases, you will have a lot of questions on match the following type of questions you will get. Animal kingdom, definitely you have to study. So you can study animal kingdom along with structural organization and animals also together. So these are some of the chapters and units that you should not skip at all. Do not ever consider skipping these units and studying some other units. It's never advisable. So always follow this one. The third important one is NCERT is going to be like a Bible for you. So read NCERT book thoroughly. This I would suggest, because you don't have to read lot of books, because I tend to see a lot of students who are reading lot of books and leaving or ignoring this NCERT book where you get a lot of questions. So 80% of questions, almost 90%, but I'm limiting to 85% of questions comes from your NCERT book only. So read your NCERT book thoroughly, starting from the first page till the last page, every figure, everything together. So master your NCERT, whether it is 11th book or your 12th book or botany or zoology, every line, every word you should understand it clearly, because you will get the same word, same line, everything given from the book. So it's always advisable to master your NCERT instead of relying on some other books. First finish off, first understand the concept which is taught in the class. After that, come back to your NCERT book and read those NCERT book every line. So that is the most important tip for studying your NEET biology efficiently. Next, problem that I would suggest is, most of the students that I find is like they used to skip a lot of summaries which will be given in every chapter. So what they used to do is, starting from the first page till the last page, what is given they used to read, but they will miss the summary. But there are a lot of questions that has come from the summary also. Some sentences will be there in summary which will not be included in the chapter. So I would suggest everybody, for every chapter you have to go to summary and read everything which is given in the summary. So you already studied plant kingdom, means come back to summary and read everything completely. Okay, are you understanding the complete thing? Sometimes you will feel certain lines are not in the chapter itself, but you will find it in the summary. So in examination they'll be asking you a question where you will find that line is not there, but in the answer key they would have mentioned the page number which is in the summary. So never skip the summary or the prefaces. This mistake most of the NEET aspirant does. So never skip the summary page at all for every chapter. The next one is rigidly obey the timetable. Yes, whenever you start your preparation for botany or for zoology, make a timetable that you have to complete unit number 1 or unit number 2 or unit number 3 within the stipulated period of time, and just have a track of the time whether you're completing it on time. So obey the timetable. If you're going to skip one day timetable that you have actually scheduled it will be coming to the next day. So you cannot finish the work that you have assigned through your timetable. So obey the timetable. This mistake most of them does, like skipping or piling up things day by day. So that shouldn't be done at all. The next, sixth tip that I'm going to tell you is focus on charts, diagrams, write-ups that are beneath the figures in NCERT. This also most of the students doesn't concentrate a lot, but this is one of the criteria. Toppers used to look into this one, and they used to have good scores because of this. So you have to focus on charts. So I'm going to tell you some tables like this. So concentrate a lot on tables, because you will have a lot of MCQ questions like this tables only. It is from the plant kingdom, and focus on the diagrams and write-ups beneath the figure. I'm going to give an example for this one. So write-ups beneath the figure. So this is the figure you're actually seeing how a nodule is actually formed by the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So development of root nodules in soybean they have given. So if you observe here, so they have talked about the complete details of A, B, C and D together. So what students used to do is they used to see the image but doesn't read the figure, what is written beneath. That's the biggest mistake, because MCQ questions will come from the figures also. You can see rhizobium bacteria contact the root hair, divide near it. So it is like a sequence they have have given, but in the chapters where this concept is given, it's kind of different. So here it's kind of different. So always check in for whatever is written beneath the figure also. From this you will expect questions. They can ask you from which part the bacteria actually carries the infection thread. It is given inner cortex. So understand whatever is given beneath the figure. This is one of the mistake, and concentrate on the images that is given in the NCERT book along with what is written beneath this one also. And concentrate on tabulations like this, where this is from human physiology, breathing and exchange of gases. So if you're going to read this, it's going to be very easy. And some figures along with explanations like this. You can see what is going to be the diffusion membrane in the alveoli. So they have talked about here, this is going to be the outermost is going to be the squamous epithelium you're actually seeing. And then the endothelium is present, and between this yellow part is going to be basement membrane. And these make up the complete diffusion membrane where the air actually moves in and out. So here you're seeing an image along with the explanation, so you should not skip these things. So concentrate a lot on things like this. So I'm just giving you some of the example that you have to do it. So let's talk about the 7th tip is study interconnected chapters. So as I already told you, certain chapters you should not skip, but what are the chapters that you have to study and what are the correlated chapters that are there? So first you can study like this way. If you're taking Cell the Unit of Life, I would suggest reading, after reading Cell the Unit of Life, you can read Cell Cycle, because in Cell the Unit of Life, the last topic is going to be nucleus. So where you'll study about when a cell is dividing, what will happen, when a cell is not dividing, which is an interphase, what will happen. So after reading that, when you're going to go in for Cell Cycle, it's going to be very easy. So study Cell the Unit of Life and Cell Cycle together. I found a lot of students studying Cell the Unit of Life separately, Cell Cycle separately. So you can read these two chapters together. The next one is Plant Kingdom. In Plant Kingdom, you'll be studying from algae and you'll be studying till angiosperms. So in angiosperms, you'll be studying about the life cycle. So sporophytic stage you'll be going in for, and then you'll be talking about the gametophytic phase. So when you're going to study the angiosperms, definitely you have to study sexual reproduction in flowering plants, which is the same which is given, but in a detailed way you will be studying in sexual reproduction in flowering plants in 12th book. So when you're going to read these two together, it's going to be very, very helpful. Next important thing is human physiology. These two chapters are very important and you have to study definitely together only. When you're going to learn breathing and exchange of gases, you will find the image given heart in between. So which means heart and the lungs will work together. So you have to study breathing and exchange of gases first, and then body fluids in circulation second. Do not study this chapter separately and this chapter separately. These both are actually going to be correlated, where you can find a lot of understanding. When you're going to read it together, it's going to be very interesting. The next one is when you're studying animal kingdom, when you'll be studying about the phylum Arthropoda, you'll be studying about the insects and crabs and many things. So in that you have to study about Arthropoda, where you will be studying insects also. So when you're going to study that, just study structural organization in animal, cockroach also together. So when you're going to study these two, which is the largest phylum, so when you're going to study these two things together, you can easily correlate things in phylum Arthropoda in animal kingdom and cockroaches in structural organization in animals. In plant physiology, study photosynthesis and respiration together. In photosynthesis, you have actually produced a glucose. In respiration, the plant is going to utilize glucose and produce energy. So study these two things together. The next one is plant hormones and transport in plants. In plant hormones, you'll be studying about the auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, everything together. But how these hormones are been transported, we do not know. So for that sake, you need to know about what is transport in plants. So you have to study plant hormones and transport in plants together. The next one is, of course, in 12th book, human reproduction and reproductive health together. So if you're going to do interconnected chapters together, you can easily correlate certain things and you can easily finish. Here itself you can literally finish almost some 14 things together, 14 chapters together you can actually finish if you're going to study it together. So this is a very easiest method of reading interconnected chapters together. Okay, now let's talk about personalized notes. Yes, so first, when you are at the beginning of preparations, I would definitely suggest taking you notes, personalized notes according to your own understanding concepts, because at the last minute you have to read your NCERT only thoroughly, along with that some tabulation which can makes you revise a bit faster. So initially when you're starting, you should always make a personalized note, but stick on to your NCERT book very importantly. You can write some kind of flow chart which makes your concepts very, very easier, or you can make a mind map, or you can make some stick notes, or you can draw. If you're someone who can understand certain things by drawing and understanding it, you can draw it. And always make big concept in one pages. Just concise the concept. You don't have to make a long notes. Concise everything and learn everything in the form of visualization. This is one of the easiest method if you're gonna see something and understand. When it comes to morphology in flowering plants, anatomy in flowering plants, it's really important that you have to see the image of the very specifically the type of leaves, very specifically what is hypogynous, epigynous. If you're going to see only, then you can understand. So when it comes to that kind of things, you should learn through visualization only, and always make a distinguishing tables to understand, like non-cyclic photophosphorylation, cyclic photophosphorylation, dark reaction, light reactions. Like this you can understand. So make some distinguishing tables, DNA, RNA, and understand that way. Make a personalized notes that you can only understand it. So this is very important. And the next one is exercise sample papers and PYQs. This most of the student knows most of the things in the book, like NCERT. They might have studied it a lot of times and they're very well versed in it. But the problem for most of them is how to approach a question comes to the mind. So that time what will happen is you do not know how to solve a question. You just tick certain question and just move on. So best way is taking up a question paper, and you are gonna spend this much amount of time only. I'll be taking it for botany, and for zoology you have to take it because you have only 3 hours. So you can spend 1 hour. I would suggest almost you can spend some 50 minutes for the complete thing. So split it into 35 or 20 or whichever is possible for you, and split botany this much fast. I will do zoology, because if you're not gonna follow the time, even if you are very brilliant or if you remember many things, if you can understand everything, if you're not going to manage time and practice those questions, even 3 hours would not be sufficient for you to finish your examination. This lot of students have felt it, and I heard it from a lot of students also. Even though you know many things, if you're not going to follow time and practice lot of questions, it's definitely not going to work out. So always practice lot of questions with time limit. That's the most important thing. It's not like 6 hours you're taking and doing questions. You have to just stick on to 1 hour for both the things together. You can practice using objective NCERT at your fingertips for NEET. This book you can follow and collect all the previous year question papers, and you can start solving this one. The most important thing for biology is revision, because even though you are master in botany or zoology, when you move from one chapter to another chapter, you would definitely forget the previous chapter that you have learned, because you are not only going to read only biology, you're going to learn physics and chemistry together. So it's obvious and it's natural that you will forget things. So the best thing that you can actually do is revision. So if you're not going to revise it, even though you know many things, you will miss things. Like you would be suspecting that this is the correct answer, which is a wrong answer might be. So revision is very, very must when it comes to biology. Very specifically, personally, I would suggest you need to have some kind of mnemonics, or you can imagine in the form of stories, how you can remember the organism names, the plants names, the animals name, the microorganism names, and interconnecting concepts to real life situation. When you're going to study human physiology, literally you can connect with the real life situation. When you're going to see people whose hands are not moving, then you can think about how actually a skeletal muscle moves. Or when you go in and study about the ears, you will study how this ear functions, how an eye functions, and how the digestion process takes place, and what happens in case of heart condition, what's a pacemaker. So these are things that are really related to the real life situation. So interconnect certain concepts when you see something in the hospitals or something. Okay, what's that we have studied? So that it will be very easy for you to understand it practically, because you are all going to be a practical doctors. So this is what all about the top 10 tips to study on NEET biology efficiently. So we at Biotechnica has started a batch for NEET at January 5th itself. So if someone is interested to join NEET at Biotechnica, you can call the toll-free number and we are ready to help you at any point of time. Thank you all of you for joining.